Hello and welcome back to my channel, and thanks for rejoining me with my SoloQuest Traveller campaign. We are at approaching the point where we start role-playing now. It is almost live. I've just got some little bits of admin to do before we get cracking. I will dispense with the rules just now. Our protagonist, Adric, here he is, Adric Wardson, ex-Navy, the Starman. He is going to be taking us through our adventures, and we're going to be using him as our avatar, our alter ego. We have found ourselves on this planet called Drax, which initially seemed to be quite a favourable place. However, based on yesterday's episode, I think I layered on quite a number of downsides. The fact that it's really down to the social side of it, and cultural and political, it being quite a stratified and rigid society ruled by a semi-authoritarian, or in many cases a fully authoritarian government. Maybe not too welcoming to outsiders. So I think Adric is going to have his work cut out for him blending into this society, and it'll be interesting to find out whether he knows anything about it. Just a couple of last things on the oracles before we get cracking. I gave a note that I was using my oracle yes/no questions, my descriptor table, and my D6 scale oracle where I could measure severity and extent, the 5W 1H questions, which are always going to be used in framing. I also was thinking I could use a choice oracle. So if we have any ambiguous, or I want to know if something is positive or negative, good or bad, either or, and the range of that measure, I can use a white dice, which is positive, and a red dice, which is negative. And say I roll a 6 and a 1, I could say, well, that's highly positive. So I can interpret the result that way. If I roll, say, a 5 and a 2, I can say that is quite negative. So that is an overall 3 minus. So, a scale of 1 to 5. And if it's even Stevens, 1 to 1, it basically becomes ambiguous again. The other thing is inspiration, twist, prompt oracle. Whenever there is a twist, and I do have a general table on that, which I can employ in the first instance, but I do have a more detailed one that I thought, well, I could work on that as well. Or, which might be the case, I actually run out of ideas and I stall, because this is going to be based on a stream of consciousness. So like any mortal, I might just run out of juice when it comes to filling in the blanks and thinking, what on earth am I going to do now? What would be the situation? And probably the best way to try and get around that is, well, we've got this what I call my twist prompt oracle that I can use, or I can maybe just try and put myself in this character's situation and say, well, what would I do, or what would I ask, or what would I want to do? Let's see how this works. And the twist prompt oracle, I just roll a d6 and I potentially have a random event, person, hazard, rumor, sighting, opportunity. It will become clear as we play. So, the other thing was I added in yes, an appearance, description, and demeanor tables. So I thought when it comes to personalizing some of the people that we run into, it might be quite nice to have this, which is we just get an idea of what their demeanor is, what their appearance is, what their descriptive side. I might be using the D6 as well, like how old they are, how experienced they are as well, in combination. And I'm probably going to have to think of names on the spot, but let's wait and see how effective I am at doing that. So I'm not going to treat it as a little test of my mental brain power and speed. but I'm really just going to try to relax and just get into the scene, get into character. We've got our little Adric avatar. He has got his duffel bag. He is just coming off the shuttle in the spaceport in Drax. Does he know anything about Drax? And that we could maybe just frame a few questions that we want to ask first off the bat. And to help me, I'm going to have my assistant of a blank sheet of paper, because that is what we're going to start with, a blank sheet of paper. And we're going to say Adric, Adric's adventures. It's like Tintin, isn't it? Hershey's Adventures of Tintin. Adric's adventures on Drax. So, he comes out onto the concourse. He has to go through customs first. The first thing he will notice is that the sun, Drax's sun, not like our sun. It's not a G star. It's actually a red dwarf. And what happens with a red dwarf is that the planet is very close to the red dwarf. There is the potential that it gives off some radiation and whatever. So potentially there's going to be more solar flares. But the other sort of side effect is that the sky is quite dark. It is reddish, purplish. The clouds are quite leaden. And so instead of a beautiful blue sky with lovely white floating clouds, we have quite an intimidating atmosphere, and then the whole of the sea is kind of reflected as a kind of blood red kind of view to it. So this is really going to affect the entire way your perspective on the place. So the question is whether that's going to be a bit of a shock to the system. Also, when we think of Adric, let's ask the question. He has been drummed out of the Navy. So, does he feel any enmity or resentment? I would say he probably does. But what sort of level of resentment does he feel? And maybe what we could do is ask the Oracle and say, does Adric feel resentful at this time to the Navy, and give it a +1 twist. So I'll actually phrase this question. So resentment. This is running through his mind as he is being taken down on the shuttle from the military ship in orbit. We will roll and we'll put a +1 to say that it's more likely that he is going to feel resentment. So we have a 9, and a 9 + 1 is 10. So yes, he does. 9 to 11 is yes. So he does feel resentment. So that's tick. What level of resentment does Adric feel? So does he feel really quite miffed with him? Or is it really just a kind of simmering, maybe a bit of a, well, that's all in the past type thing, but, I don't really want to remember that. So he has a real chip on his shoulder. So chip on shoulder. So maybe we could ask, will this, he's on a 6. So he's off the chart. He really doesn't like the Navy now. I said, will this affect his future relationship with the Imperium? And I would say yes is probably likely. So again, we're going to ask the Oracle, and we'll say, Oracle, is it going to tarnish his future view and a relationship with the Imperium? And yes, yes. So he is going to be a bit anti-Imperium. Okay, I think we've done enough on the simmering anger that Adric has against. He's not really a cheerleader of the Imperium in this sector. And I think one of the things I was saying about my Imperium in this little, just remind ourselves of this little cluster that we're in. We are Drax. We are on Drax. We're surrounded by these other 5 planets that I've already given you some details on. And Imperium space is here, but they have effectively jurisdiction over this area because this is what they're classified as a fiefdom. They have given this fiefdom to the corporation, and the corporation is effectively their surrogate government here. But Imperium ships do jet around all over the place, and also they do have naval bases. They have a scout base, actually, the big presence on this planet. So there's going to be a lot of Imperial personnel. So I think that Adric has got to really behave himself a bit, and we could always roll some dice to see whether he can control that temper of his. Okay, so we have decided that he's got a bit of a chip on his shoulder. What about his knowledge of this planet? Would we think that he would know anything about Drax? So we could ask the question, does he know anything about Drax? Has he got any knowledge at all? Probably, maybe, was the sun, this red dwarf in the sky, a bit of a shock to Adric? Let us find out. So we'll put Adric's avatar so we have someone to focus on. And we'll say, does Adric know very much about this planet, Drax? And we'll say, would you think it would be likely? I don't think so. I think we'll have a -1 on this. So 8 minus 1 is 7. So uncertain, complicated, mixed answer, twist, partial success. So I think he probably doesn't really know very much about it. It's not like he's never heard of it. So he probably realizes that it is circles like a red dwarf. So I would say that he's got a very base knowledge of. And I wouldn't even do it on a 1 to 6 scale. I'll just say that he's basically seen some library data. So he might not know too much about all the different societal aspects that we were going on about. The fact that it's got high regulation, it's got abolition of personal liberty, architectural conformity, advanced water and air filtration focus, a caste system, and technological stagnation. These are all probably concepts well beyond his gift, but maybe someone has warned him that it is a high, very bureaucratic state. It requires permits and visas and all sorts of things. So he's kind of geared up for going through customs. So one final question we're going to ask: does he feel comfortable in the place? And that would be, I think we'll just go for a neutral on that. And he gets a 9, and he does feel comfortable, so good. I think he's maybe on a bit of a high, being, basically he hasn't got any responsibilities now. He's not done to do his engineering services on that ship or any gunnery duty. He's free. He's a free agent in the Travel the Universe. And my goodness, when you think about it, what a thought! All these thousands and thousands of planetary systems that he has at his beck and call. So what else are we going to do in this? I would say that he is probably, the next stage is he is going to try to get through security. And what he has to do is he has to negotiate the customs area. And based on the fact that this is quite a tight control state, there's going to be quite a lot of surveillance. Is the security a problem? Or is it watching him? So I think we can ask our oracle and say, is security going to be a problem for Adric? And 7 is, well, it's a bit uncertain, complicated. I would say that maybe what happens is when he gets to the security, the individual there that is checking his documents, say, look, you're going to have to, you haven't got all the required information here. You're going to have to go over to that desk over there, fill out these forms, come back over here, and basically he's being sent on a bit of a bureaucratic route. So he is spending his time going backwards and forwards between different officials. They are saying fill out this form, and then when he comes back to the originator, they're saying, well, you're going to need this form as well, and of course Adric's going to say, well, you never told me in the first place, and they'll say, yeah, okay, but this is the rules, and you're going to have to. So maybe he is getting a bit kind of shuttled around on that. Now that we are actually in the concourse, is it busy? Does it feel busy, or is it quite empty? Does it feel like it has got a lot in it? And it does. It feels very, very. So it is a busy, bustling. It's a Class C starport, so it's not anything really fancy or anything, but it does seem to be very busy today, and it's got plenty of passengers and residents moving around. And also it does seem that because of the climate, maybe in the starport being a bit more relaxed in comparison to the surface and the outside, the urban zones, and all these habitats that the people live in. They're probably a lot of residents probably like to come to the starport if they're a bit more free-minded. I think a lot of the conditioning of the populace means that they are quite anti that kind of thought, and it wouldn't even cross their mind to entertain it. But there are going to be a few more free-thinking radicals, and they are probably attracted to this. And what I want to do is maybe just see if there is an opportunity to find a patron here, and to do that, I am going to do a combination of checking for encounters is the first thing. So let us just see what we've got in our book here. So if we go to the encounter section in the book, encounters, and encounters are on 5+. We will have an encounter. And we do that daily, so I'll just roll a 5+ in the starport. And also, there is a chance of getting a patron. And I'm going to maybe escalate the chance of getting a patron because we are in that situation. But first of all, let's just find out whether it is, the fact that it is busy, whether we have some form of encounter. And that's going to be a 5+. Yes, we do. We do have an encounter. So I will deploy the mongoose. This has got a very good starport encounter section, if I can remember where it is. And this is where you have to get a bit handy with lots. I think it was 90 odd. Here we go. Urban encounters, starport encounters. So let us find out what Adric sees in the starport. So it's going to be 62, and 62, drunken crew pick a fight. Oh dear. So this looks like a bit of a hostile situation. So there's drunken crew and pick a fight. And I could also ask, are these drunken crew, are they off-worlders, or are they locals that are part of a crew? And we could ask the Oracle that. Are they? So they are 6, and that is no. They are actual locals. So they are probably maybe ground staff. We could say ground staff, locals. And this is very strange behaviour, probably for the locals to be doing this. And I would say that there's a good chance that they are going to be observed by the authorities. So let's just roll for that. 7 + 1 is going to be 8. So this is maybe a bit of a mixed answer. So let us say on a 1 to 3. 1 to 3, they are just acting, they are basically out of sight of security and cameras, and they are going to cause Adric quite a bit of a nuisance. So no, they are being spotted, they are being shadowed by some security. So this is the way that it's set up. We've got Adric, we've got a couple of, let's see if I can get my little, I'll have a couple of brown ones, I think. Yeah, we'll say there's a couple of drunken crewmen. They're singing, they're bawling away. They take a bit of a dislike to Adric, and they say, "Off-worlder, well, what are you doing here? Yeah, well, have you just come off that shuttle?" And they're all slurring their words and just being generally obnoxious. So it's going to be quite important how Adric manages to deal with this. So we could say, well, what's he going to do? Is he going to try to negotiate, or is he going to try to evade? You know, he could, or is he going to try to look for the authorities, and maybe ask them for help? I might say that probably being Adric, he's probably been used to these situations where he's had to deal with individuals like this in his career. So maybe he knows a bit of, he can use his charm a bit, use a bit of, have a bit of an interaction with them. So let us just get the encounter table and say, well, let's see if we can actually use his ability to maybe give across his point of view, or you maybe use a bit of force, a bit of incentive for them to maybe not approach him. You know, he could be basically trying to square up to them a bit. So let's see how they take to Adric. So we get a 6. So they are unreceptive. So I would say that they are continuing to pester him, and he is probably going to have to take evasive action. So let us see what we could do. We could maybe, on the oracles, I'm saying, maybe we could have a bit of color and say, well, wonder what action they are going to take. So basically, Adric says, right, I'm out of here. I'm going to try and see if I can basically use my superior dexterity and try to hightail it. You know, his dexterity is 9, so he's probably pretty nimble on his feet. He hasn't got too much luggage, and he's got his duffel bag, and he's clutching his high passage ticket, and his 5,000 credits are stashed away on his card. You know, he could probably outpace these individuals. They are drunk, they're swerving around. They're probably going to be starting to come under the surveillance of the authorities the longer that Adric is dealing with them. So he thinks he's probably got quite a good chance of evading. So let's see if he does an evade, and we will give him an 8+ chance, but we'll give him a +1 because his dexterity is high. So he does on a 7, so he manages to evade them, get away from them. They are no longer a threat to him, and they're probably going to be picked up by the authorities later on. However, potentially we can note these 2 individuals with 2 drunks, and I could maybe weave them in later on as potential, you know, maybe like local, bit of local color. They could be potential adversaries later on, maybe utilized. They've seen Adric, they've dealt with him, they know what he sounds like, what he looks like. If they are being questioned by the authorities in relation to anything else that Adric does in the future, we could maybe have some problems. So I think Adric's had enough of the starport for the time being, so probably what he wants to do is, you know, if I was Adric, I'd probably be thinking, well, I could really do with a place to stay. So he goes to the information desk and he says, look, are there any places for off-worlders to stay? And the chances are, if we get a yes, there will be accommodation in the starport, and there's probably a hostel. And if we get a no, it's going to be no. You've got to go outside into the urban zone, and maybe there's a quarter. So I think what we'll do is the minus and the plus, and see what how difficult it is going to be to get. So it is a -1, so we're going to have to go out of the starport, but we're not really going to have to go too far. So what he does is he says, look, can I arrange a taxi here? And they'll say, if you fill this form out, you can do it. And he's starting to get the gist of just exactly what's going on here. That it's very much a bureaucratic, pen-pushing environment. And he thinks, right, I'm going to have to adapt to this, otherwise I am going to be in a bit of trouble. So I'll just comply with regulations. Instead of my maybe rather a cavalier attitude to authority, I'm maybe going to knuckle down just for the time being, blend in with the locals. Let us get ourselves to this hotel. He manages to get a taxi hailed. The taxi takes him to the hotel. He is in the hotel. I think the hotel charges, I can't remember what they are in here. I think they are they're probably listed. I don't think they're very onerous. It's not like we're staying... I don't have an equivalent of the Dragon Hotel in this universe. I've just decided it's quite vanilla, this. I'm just going to make it up on the spot. So he does manage to find a hotel. We could always maybe ask the Oracle, is there any difficulty in trying to find this thing? Maybe he's taken the wrong way or something. So we could say... does Adric have difficulties with this taxi in trying to get to the hotel? No, it doesn't seem to be. I would say that is probably, yeah, maybe they get stuck a bit in traffic. It seems a bit kind of like there's a few things that maybe hold them up. It's a bit of a debatable Oracle result, but ultimately they managed to get through the traffic and get to the hotel. So Adric reaches the hotel. He manages to check in. We are going to probably kick in the process. Again, I'm just going to go for the more abstract kind of view of the encounters and say, well, he's going to have to look for a patron, and according to the rules, patrons are weekly. We throw a 5+ on 1D. So I'm going to say that say we roll a d6, that's the number of days he's going to have to wait until a patron roll becomes available. And if we get a 6, it's going to be either the Saturday or the Sunday. Let's go. So day 4. So he's on day 1. So we're going to have 2, 3. We can have a patron check, then 5 to 6. Also, as we are progressing through that week, we will have access to maybe a rumour. So a rumour is rolled weekly, 7+ on 2D. So let's find out what day the rumour would be. So we might have a rumour check on day 3, and that's a 7+ on 2D6. So we could have a rumour check. And the other thing that I was thinking, well, how am I going to get encounters here? And I would say that if he is out looking for, because with patrons you have to be out looking for things, he's probably going to be out maybe every day. Maybe some days he'll be down. And I would say there are probably at least 1 to 3 encounters, and also we'll have an encounter every day that we have one of these, a rumour or a patron. So we're going to have 1 to 3 in that week. So we're going to have 1, but we're going to have a minimum of 2. So we will have a encounter roll for day 3 and an encounter roll for day 4. And also when we're out and about, there is always the chance that we will have any issues with the law. And there is I would say, a smaller chance that we maybe even have issues when we aren't really doing anything. So you could say potentially his first couple of days, he's going to be basically downtime. He's going to say, right, I've been working, I've been getting up at like 6 o'clock every morning for the last 12 years. I am fed up. I'm just going to take a bit of downtime and maybe read up a bit on what Drax is all about. So, you know, we could say, well, does he take advantage of his downtime? And we'll actually call that downtime. And we'll say, does Adric take advantage of his downtime? If it is a yes, yes, he does. He does. He takes advantage. And on a knowledge basis, let's find out on a scale of 1 to 6 how much knowledge he gains. And he gains 2, so +2. And the way I'm going to do this is I'm just going to think off the top of my head and say, well, actually, we had a few extra little bits of detail. We had high regulation, abolition of personal liberty, architectural conformity, advanced water and air filtration, caste system, and technological. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, who would have thought it? 6 items. So let's find out which 6 items that he learns 2 of them, a bit more detail, and he basically picks this up from the locals in the hotel. So he learns all about, oh, there is a caste system on this system. Oh, that's awful. You know, I'm used to maybe a bit more of an open society. So he learns all about the caste system. Maybe he bumps into someone that is either resentful about this, a local, that says, look, this is a bit hierarchical here. You know, maybe we are, you know, between you and me, we're not exactly enamored with this situation. Or maybe someone is talking about it and saying, yes, this means that we have a perfect order in our society. Everyone is assigned a role and function, sort of rah. So, you know, that could be the case. And then also, what else is he going to find out in his free time? So number 4, that's 1, 2, 3. Oh, advanced water and air filtration. So maybe he's a bit of a boffin, and he thought, oh, right, this is quite interesting. They've really got some very advanced technology when it comes to water reclamation and air filtration. Just the sort of subjects that, with my engineering background, I am really, you know, I really take an interest in. So he is well up on advanced water and air filtration, which we might mock at this stage. It could be a relevant skill that he has picked up. So basically, on a social skill, he has got this knowledge that he has picked up. So he has been using his time to good effect. And we could also say that there's a potential that he has an encounter when he's doing this. But let us not maybe cloud the issues just now. And we can come to a rumour and a patron check. And I do see that we're actually passing the 30-minute band. And what I will do is the start of the next episode, we will kick off with Adric straight off the bat and see whether he has a rumour, see whether we can actually have a patron, and we can actually frame these situations. So what I'm going to have to do with the rumour is I'm going to have to triangulate that somewhere in the urban area. And I could probably do a bit more description of what the urban area is, because basically when you think about it, it is a large island that we're on. This is where the Starport is based. The scout base is nestled nearby. The government buildings of Drax are all based on here. The islands are quite restricted. They are classified as forbidden zones to the normal inhabitants, and really only government officials are allowed to be there, and obviously off-worlders too who are using the Starport. The normal people of Drax are in habitats, and they are either surface habitats in dome bubbles or underwater. And it does seem to be a view that the Draxian authorities want to try to maintain their people in what would be classified as enclosed areas, and maybe not let them just wander around. And certainly the islands being a potential, you know, some of these islands, they might have, you know, it's 10% of the landmass, and, you know, the chances are that some of these islands have some very interesting things going on, which probably the Draxian authorities don't really want our characters or the locals to get involved in or know about. And that is probably quite a seed for future adventures that we can use. I think the Drax has got a lot of potential for, just based on the rather rigid societal constraints. As a flip side, we might have quite a bit of of interesting areas. The forbidden zones seem to be quite tantalizing. The fact that these islands are restricted, they might have different purposes. Maybe we're talking, I might even find a D6 table of islands and having lots of different things on it. And that is what I'm going to try to do. Basically, you've had the vanilla just now of what we do with just building up basically a bit of atmosphere and trying to run with Adric and find out just really what he's like and what he knows, what he feels, and also just his first little kind of encounters in the starport. As we go on and on and on, we're going to get a bit more, it's going to get richer and a bit more detailed. I'll get far more used to just rolling the dice and using the dice and rolling it whenever is required. I think that's a kind of natural evolution, and mini ad hoc tables will be the name of the game, as well as the general ones. And I think by using the abstract rules in Traveller, the encounter tables that I have in the Mongoose version, and all my oracles, I think between that we could weave quite an interesting tale to tell. That was my objective, was really to try to generate something basically just from the base game and say, well, this was what was envisioned by Mark Miller that you could probably do. I'm just like living the dream, and showing, and hopefully you're finding this of interest. I'm not really going to be sitting here, my purpose is not really to be an entertainer. It's really, I want to try to get, I've quite enjoyed doing this myself, and that's my primary objective. If as a byproduct that you are enjoying this, that's great. I really appreciate that. But I will carry on regardless. Again, I've got a bit of a double motive here because I'm doing it as a training primer for my face-to-face campaign, and I really want to build up these ad hoc kind of inspirational type skills that I can just think on the fly and do stuff and not have everything pre-designed. So it's quite a nice welcome release from some of my more, as I say, more design campaigns that are down maybe certain channels, and this gives me a chance maybe just to free the spirit and do all that kind of stuff. And I can see I've just gone on and on and on, and I have gone way past my thing. So, but to give you an idea, we'll come back, we'll find out what this room is all about, whether he has an encounter with a patron, how his adventures develop in Drax thereon. Okay, well, thank you very much for watching this one, and I really hope that you want to come and join me with the next adventure.